Okay, welcome to the tutorial about basically how to take your piece that you've drawn on paper to digitize it in Photoshop a little bit, but mostly the end game here is for you to be able to vectorize it and take it into Illustrator and then be able to work with the anchor points and the handles for your lettering piece. So if you are more Photoshop savvy than you are Illustrator savvy, you might want to take a look at the other video about how to do digitizing and post-production in Photoshop. If you are trying to improve your Illustrator skills, this is a great way to really be able to modify your text or in your graphics in Illustrator. So basically, I'm going to open a file that I have sent myself. This is my lettering example, okay? And okay, I don't know why that was white. Basically, this is what I drew on paper. As you can see, I made some errors, like I didn't really care for these E's, for example. I even tried to draw another one out here, and I didn't really like that one either, and I just decided, actually, I'm going to copy this one over from the beginning of my word lettering. And then I wrote the word poster, didn't really care for that, wrote it again, liked that one better. So basically, everything doesn't have to be pristine and perfect on your paper. You can do some editing afterwards, and then everything you can sort of modify and bring it all together. So basically, in this video, we're going to take our piece, make it only black and white, and eliminate the grays, and then we are going to essentially outline everything that's black using what's called a path, and then we're going to export that path so we can then take it into Illustrator and vector, and it'll be vector. Okay, so it's going to be kind of lengthy. Feel free to, if I'm talking, I'm going to talk slow. If I'm talking too slow, then speed up the pace of the video if you can, and feel free to also pause and go back and rewatch. This is a method that you should be able to apply to any project, okay? Not just our lettering poster project. So I have my lettering piece. I'm now going to go to my layers panel. If you don't have your layers panel over here in your toolbar to the right, you can go up to Window, click Layers. Okay, if it's unchecked, it won't pop up automatically. So if you click it, it'll check it and pop it up automatically. Okay. Next, I'm going to go down to my adjustment. I'm going to make a new fill or adjustment layer. First one I'm going to do is black and white. Okay, this, if I go back to my layers panel, this takes out all the color. Obviously, it kind of had a yellowy, creamy tinge to it in the background. Now it's purely black, gray, and white. Okay, I'm going to go down to my adjustment layer thing again. It looks kind of like a half moon or a circle half filled in. And I'm going to click that again. And I'm going to do a levels adjustment layer. Okay, levels are great because they allow you to pick and choose how many darks and lights are in your composition. Okay, so if I hold down this little black caret, it's going to add more darks or blacks into my composition. If I hold down this one, it's going to add more whites or lights to my composition. Okay. So I kind of want to strike a healthy balance between adding in black and white. So really I'm trying to isolate the text to where it is only black and then to where my background is only white. Okay. If I zoom in, Command++, it seems like I've done a pretty good job The only thing you can see, this little edge is still black, and that's okay. That's not a deal breaker, okay? So what I want to do before I make a path or kind of like an outline around all of my lettering, I want to clean it up first, okay? Basically, I want to get rid of these boo-boos before I vectorize it, because then it's going to be easier to adjust in Illustrator, okay? So if I go back to my background layer, which is my image, I'm going to add a layer mask to it, okay? So if I click that, you can see it adds a layer mask, okay? And what I'm going to do is use this mask to hide certain parts of my piece. It's better to always hide things rather than erase, because if I hide something, I can go back and unhide it. But if I erase part of it and then I go on and do other things, I can't get that part back, okay? So I need to make sure that I'm on my layer. You can see that little white box around it. I mean, on my mask layer, not the layer. I want to be on the mask, okay? I'm then going to use my brush tool. Remember, B for brush. Remember, black hides, white takes away. Black hides, white shows, okay? I can use this little arrow to toggle between the foreground and background colors. Let's say you had some different funky colors on here or something, and they weren't black and white. You can always click that little, it's kind of like a little icon, and that sets your foreground and background back to the default black and white, okay? So remember, black hides, so I want black to be my foreground color. Also remember, on your brush tool, you can use the closing and opening brackets to adjust the size of your brush. And they are just to the right of the P on your keyboard. So opening bracket makes the brush smaller. Closing bracket makes your brush bigger. So for me, that's probably good. I'm on black, so I'm going to hide whatever I paint on, and you can see it is in fact hiding whatever I paint, and it's showing this transparent background. Okay, that's perfectly fine. If that transparent background bothers you, you can always go back to your adjustment layers and add a solid color. And that solid color can be white. Okay, right now it's on top of our image, so we actually want to hold down, and drag it beneath. Okay, now I want to go back to my mask and continue to use my black brush. I'm going to zoom in. Continue to use my black brush to clean up and sort of refine what all I want to hide and sort of get rid of, okay? So remember, I didn't like this version of the word poster, so I'm going to hide it. Okay. I hid those E's that I didn't really care for, and right now everything's looking good. Let's say, for example, maybe you needed to add something. Like, let's say I didn't really like the curve of this L, I needed to make it thicker. What I can do is add a totally new layer. And what I'm going to do is paint with my brush tool in that layer. Okay, so I'm using my brush tool and I'm adding black, okay? And as you can see, if I turn everything off, there's just my layer that I was painting with black. Okay, so you don't want to paint on your original piece, because you can't really go back and undo that. But this layer, I could always delete it and start over if I needed to. So let me say I need to refine this edge a little bit. Okay, that looks good. And just another tip, if you want to hide several layers or turn off their visibility at one time, you can click one layer in the visibility, hold it down, and slide your mouse down, and it'll turn off or turn on all that you slide over. Okay, so hold down, slide, and it'll turn all of them back on. Just a little tip for you. Okay, so everything's looking pretty good. The only other thing I want to do is duplicate this E. And the way I'm gonna do that is use my marquee tool, which is the second tool underneath my select tool, or you can hit M for marquee. Oops, zoom in. And basically the marquee tool is going to select whatever I drag my marquee over, okay? And if I don't get all of the piece I need, I can hold down Shift to add to my selection. Nope, sorry, that was a mishap. Okay, so hold down Shift to add to my selection. And you can see I'm just kind of piece by piece getting all of that E. Okay, so once I've got that selected, I'm actually going to switch back to my select tool, and you can see there are little scissors now by my mouse, and that is basically going to cut out whatever you have selected, and you can move it, you can transform it, rotate it, all that good stuff. But undo. I don't actually want to move it, I want to copy it because I need another E. So if I hold down Option, you can see my mouse switches to the little black arrow, the little white arrow. That means I'm going to make a copy, okay? So while you're on the Select tool, hold down Option, and you can drag your selection, and you see it makes a copy. Okay, I'm going to select, deselect to get rid of those marching ants, or the shortcut is Command D. And I'm not going to worry about the fact that everything isn't spaced very well, because that's something I can do in Illustrator. So right now I'm going to outline everything that's black, kind of like I said I was going to do at the beginning. And the way I can do that is by going up to Select, Color Range, and basically this is going to allow me to select any color I want in the composition. So you see this eyedropper? I'm just hovering over my composition, and if I click on something that is black, you can see here in the preview it's showing me what I clicked. Okay. And I can play with the fuzziness, and basically this is just going to kind of adjust, it uses a good word, adjust the fall off beyond the selection boundaries, okay? So if my fuzziness is at 200%, it's going to select a little more than the edges of what I chose, or if it's at 0, it's going to kind of constrict or contract the edges. So it just kind of depends on what you're going for, and I'm just gonna sort of leave it here in the middle, okay? And I'm gonna hit OK. And now you can see the marching ants are around everything that is black. It even got this little piece up here in the corner, and that's okay. It's not a problem. Easy to delete in Illustrator. So now we've got the marching ants, but we need to more or less outline the piece with what's called a path. So I'm going to go over here to my paths toolbar, Again, if you don't have paths over here, you can go up to Window and find it. This is arranged in alphabetical order. Okay, mine is checked because I've got it pulled up. Okay, I'm going to click this little drop down in the top right corner of my Paths toolbar and click Make Work Path. Okay, the tolerance is basically how close it follows your selection with your marching ants. So if you have a tolerance of 10, it's going to take a second to think. You can see it doesn't follow my path very well at all. So we don't want to do that. Command Z or Edit Undo. Step backward. I'm going to click Make Work Path again. And I want my tolerance to be 0.5. That is the smallest tolerance you can have, and it will retain the detail and quality of your selection. So you can see, because my letters were kind of jaggedy or janky, it followed that same kind of jagged or janky line. Okay? So now that we've got this selected as our work path, we're going to export that path so we can open it in Illustrator. So you're going to go to File, Export, Paths to Illustrator. And yes, we want it to be our work path. And you can name it whatever you want. So I'm going to say lettering path. And I'm going to do it in my desktop. Okay. So now I'm going to minimize Photoshop, find that lettering path that I just exported, and I'm actually going to open that in Illustrator. Needs a second to think. Yes. Artboards, yes, that's all fine. Click OK. And basically what this does is it looks invisible right now. And really what it is all of the shapes have zero fill and zero outline. So if I go to Outline View, View Outline, I can see that all of my stuff is there. It just doesn't have a fill right now. Okay, the shortcut is Command Y, and that's how you can toggle back and forth between Outline View and the preview or your regular view. Okay, so if I hit Command A or Select All, that's going to select everything. And I want to give it a fill so that I can see it. So I can double click, and I'm going to change it to kind of a dark red. But you can see that I've got these shapes here, but instead of this being excluded from the T, it's really just a shape on top of it. Okay, so I need to select everything again. So Command A or Select All. Now I need to use my Pathfinder panel to exclude these shapes so that everything will, like these little holes will be cut out from the letters. So I can go to Window, Pathfinder, or if you know the Pathfinder is these two little overlapping squares, you can click it from this right side. And what we want to click is the, well, it's supposed to show up when I like hover over it, is the exclude. It's this one on the far right. There we go. Exclude, okay? So it's going to exclude the overlapping shape areas. Okay, and voila. Now you can see the difference between before and after. oops, edit, redo. Everything is excluded so that it looks like the letters as we know it. So now what you can do, everything is going to be grouped together. You can right click or control click and hit ungroup. And now your objects will be separated. So I can actually select this little piece up here that I don't want and delete it. Okay, I can select everything again, hover in the corner of my piece and rotate everything so that if I turn my rulers on, Command R or, view rulers, you can hide rulers or show rulers. If I were to drag a ruler down here, I could make everything line up and have the same baseline. Okay, I can take that E and drop it down to where it's supposed to go. I can scoot my R over using my arrows to kind of nudge that. I can select all this stuff. If I start off of an object and I'm in my select tool, I can drag a little marquee and everything that I touched will be selected. Okay. I can move these letters over as well to sort of fit these. Remember, I can use my align tool. If I've got several things selected, I can use my align tools. I just want to align to the selection or those 6 letters I've got selected. I don't want to align to my artboard. Align to selection, I can center them. I can horizontally distribute them so that there's this same amount of space between all of these letters. I can delete that part of the I, or if I like it, I'm going to nudge it over 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then I can use my direct select tool, which is this white one over here, to just select different anchor points, and I can nudge this over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can select those to remove them. So basically there's not 50 billion anchor points right here. I can remove those so they're not in the way and continue to nudge this over. And then I can go back to my select tool, select this guy. I nudged him 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and as you can see, I'm gonna turn my guide off. I'm gonna make, oh, I don't need that little guy out there. If I select, oh, I've got a little guy down here too. I can select him and delete him. I can select everything and voila, there you go. So that's how you use Illustrator. And so now if I hit Command S, or if I go up to File, Save, instead of doing lettering path converted, I can name this Rachel lettering poster and save it. So that's how you scan in your file, do some minor editing in Photoshop, but then really use Illustrator to manipulate and adjust your piece so that it the final product looks how you want it to. If you have questions, please ask me in class. I'm happy to help you. Feel free to speed this up or pause it or go back and rewatch it. Again, you can use this method for multiple projects, not just this one. You can apply the same concept across many different things.